Good reading right there, brother.
Is that what?
Crazy.
Don't start nothing this apartment before we done. Come on with it.
Crazy.
All
Yes.
right. First and foremost, we always like to give praise to the God of Israel, of our forefather Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yes.
Today, y'all, we're going to deal with a message about this particular religion that's real powerful amongst our community. And this religion is Islam. And it got a lot of our young black brothers entrapped in this particular religion because it is very powerful in the jails. And you know by the prophecies of God that our people are hidden in the prison houses.
That's right.
So when they go to jail, mainly they get religion from these particular guys of Islam. There's no attack on the brothers because they got a lot of this right, more so than the Christians, the so-called Christians. But the topic of the message is Israel or Islam. Israel or Islam. See, we serve the God of Israel, the God of Jesus. We serve him, not Islam and Muhammad. And we're going to find out through history, and we're going to go in the Quran, and we're going to go in the Bible. See, all it is that this prophet, so-called prophet, because he's not a prophet, we're going to find out what the prophets are. This prophet, so-called prophet, Muhammad, wanted to try to deliver his people from all those idols. And he used to stay around the Israelites and learn knowledge. The Israelites are real prominent amongst all of the sections in Jerusalem, all over that land. But we're going to start in Psalms 147 in verse 19. Psalms 147 in verse 19. And like I said before, this is no attack on the brothers of Islam. We just got to make sure we serving the right God. And most of all, most people, they have a lot of this stuff right, but it just takes that 10% to throw it all the way off.
That's right.
And that 10%, whether you know it or not, is Israel. The right people that you're supposed to get this message from. And a lot of people out here in the world, believe me, they look religious, they look holy, they look just like they just God's people. But we know in the studies that we have in here that the Israelites are the so-called Negroes in America and scattered all over the world. So we're going to look at Psalms 147 verse 19. And let's look at who God chose, who he dealt with. Verse 19. Go ahead, brother, when you get it.
He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
Yes, sir.
He has not dealt so with any nation,
Yes, sir.
and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
You see, we said he has not dealt with no other nation. Now, we got this prophet, so-called prophet Muhammad, which is an Arab. If he's not Israel, he's of another nation. So God gave his prophets his secrets to the Israelites. Now, if you follow Islam, and we know from history, you're going to find out from history, the origin where Prophet Muhammad came from. He's an Arab. He's an Arab. But also, let's go to Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. Let's look at another text. So you'll make sure that we're not just picking one particular verse out and just going off our own interpretation. We get Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. Always remember this. God revealed his secrets to his people.
Come on.
Only. If you from another nation and you didn't get it from one of us, Israel, you have got some lies. You have got lies. That's the reason why this world is so bad of condition right now, because Israel is not on their job. They don't even care. They want to have fun and do whatever. But let's let God tell you. Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel,
Yes, sir.
against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth.
Wait a minute now. He said, you only. Pay attention to words now. One word can make a whole sentence sound much better. He said, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. So no other family that God dealt with was Israel. That's the only one he dealt with. Go ahead.
Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities.
This is the reason why we're going through all this turmoil, all this punishment that these other nations are putting on us because we didn't follow his statutes and judgments. We're in Islam, we in the Mormons, we in the Seventh-day Adventists, we in all these different type of religious sections, religious organizations, but ain't nobody thought to read it from God's book, which is Israel, and find out who the people are. We are the people. Jump down to verse 7. Look at that.
Verse 7. Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servant, the prophets.
You see what he said? He said, I would do nothing unless I reveal it to his servants, the prophets. Prophets. If you don't know who Israel is, how are you going to get the secrets of God? You got to know who Israel is. If you serve Islam, that's not a part of God's prophets. Believe me, not at all. Now we're going to look in this Quran. Like I said, we're going to deal with the Quran, and their own book tells us that the same thing. So I tell people all the time, look, we ain't gonna shy away from it. I know a lot of brothers who are gonna look at this video, they're gonna say, well, he didn't go in the Quran. Okay, we're gonna go in the Quran. And you're gonna find out that the Bible predates the Quran 4,500 years. All this prophet Muhammad did was pleasurize the Bible. He took here a little, there a little, and he compiled this Bible. Because I read this Bible, and I understand a lot of stuff in the Bible. Like, hey, I know where he got that from. He got that from Amos. He got that from Psalms. So let's look at this. Let's look at what this Quran says about who you're supposed to listen to. That's chapter 5 and verse 19. We're going to start.
Okay. O people of the book, indeed our messenger has come to you, explaining to you after a succession of the messengers, lest you say, there came not to us a bearer of good news, nor a warner. So indeed a bearer of good news and a warner has come to you. And Allah is possessor of power over all things.
You see what he said right here? He said, he revealed this to your messenger. Pay close attention to the word, your messengers. Now let's find out who is his messenger or who God's favorite people. Let's let Allah tell you, or the Quran tell you. Go ahead.
And when Moses said to his people, O my people, remember the favor of Allah to you when he raised prophet among you and made you kings and gave you what he gave not to any of the nations.
You see what he said? In the Quran it says that, O ye Moses, remember what he gave from his prophets, which is the Israelites, favorite people. Go ahead.
O my people, enter the holy land which Allah has ordained for you, and turn not your backs, for then you will turn back losers.
You see what he said right here? When we came out of Pharaoh's house, when we was in the wilderness, God told us that we were going into the land that he promised us, which is Israel. He taking these same scriptures that are in the Bible. He said, reveal it to who? The prophets, Israel. And the Quran said the same thing. Moses and his people, you listen to them. So the Quran is just a book compiled from cherry picking the word of God. That's all they did, cherry pick certain scriptures. Because Muhammad, we're going to find out, he wasn't a very smart man. Let's go with that. Now we're going to read, we're going to do a little history too. This is Babylon from Timbuktu by this author, Dr. Rudolph Windsor. He went through and studied our people in the different types of religions that we were in. So we understand what the origin of these particular religions. And he studied the Quran and Muhammad and how he first got started. It's in Babylon and Timbuktu. We're going to start with page 45. We're going to start right here. Now this is a little history on Muhammad and where he came from and how he got this thing started. Go ahead, bro.
When Muhammad was born, many Arabs were still worshiping the sun, stars, spirits, and idols.
See, when Muhammad was born, his people were worshiping all these idols, and these people had 366 idols they worshiped every day. And Muhammad got tired of his people going through the turmoil. He wanted to find a different gate, a different way of delivering his people. And he got with us. Go ahead.
The Arabs possessed 360 idols.
You see what he said? The Arab was at 360 idols. He was an Arab. You're going to find out he was from the seed of Ishmael, Abraham's other son.
Come on, bro. Come on.
So we're going to break all this down, but we got to get a foundation of it. Go ahead.
One for each day of the year. Muhammad was born AD 570, 4 years after the death of Emperor Justinian. Justinian. He was descended from the tribe of Quraysh.
Now understand that when Ishmael had sons, he had tribes too. We're going to find that out. He was an Arab, came from the seed of Ishmael. These are two brothers, which you would rather believe, right? Israel and Ishmael. But we're going to get all of that. Just read the highlighted parts. Go ahead.
Okay. He was descended from the tribe of Quraysh and the family of Hesham.
Mm-hmm.
In his youth, he was never taught to read or write, but his imagination was superlative.
Superlative.
Yeah. Muhammad was an extraordinary handsome man and eloquent in motivating men with the power of words.
See, Muhammad today is compared to like a motivational speaker. He couldn't read, he couldn't write. But one thing Muhammad had, he had a motivational voice. And he could motivate men. And what he did was he understood he had the knowledge enough to write the Bible. He went to our people and sat amongst the Israelites to learn what are y'all doing. He sees that God is with us. But he was trying to deliver his people. But in delivering his people, he wanted to kick the God of Israel out and develop this religion called Islam. Well, keep reading. Jump down to verse right now.
After Muhammad became a camel driver, he traveled to remote and intriguing lands.
Mm-hmm.
On his business trips, he met Jews, Christians, and members of other sects. He interrogated them concerning the tenets of their religion.
See, when Muhammad, he came around, he started to interrogate, or he started listening to these different sectors of religions. He wanted to find a religion that would set his people free. And what he did was, he found one particular religion, and that's Israel. And he stayed around them all the time. Go ahead, brother.
He frequented the environment of the Jews and their rabbis. mostly because they were merchants and an omnipresent ethnic group.
See, they were omnipresent, meaning that they was all around. And people looked up to them.
That's right.
Your people, Israelites. He knew God was with us, so he got to find out, what are these people doing? He couldn't read or write, so he remembered everything that these people were saying, and he got somebody to write this stuff down. Go ahead, brother.
Because he could not read or write, his ears were attentive and keen to everything that the Jews related to him.
He was listening. Go ahead.
Muhammad learned and extracted much from the Jewish religion and compounded it with his new religion, Islam.
That's where Islam came from. He compounded what he learned from this particular book, the Torah. All the Torah is the first 5 books of Moses. He took the first 5 books of Moses, he cherry-picked which ones he wanted, and he compiled the Quran. Go ahead, bro. Read this right here.
There it is.
Right here. And this is what this is going to tell you. We got to get this foundation to understand. A lot of times when I'm dealing with certain people, they say, well, you ain't going to deal with them Muslims, them some crazy folk. But you don't know nothing about them. You haven't read their books. You haven't even researched their leader. You haven't did nothing. The only thing you did was listen to your pastor say, them folks crazy. And you're going to find out a lot of stuff that Muhammad got, he got it from him. But he messed up. He wanted to kick us out. But he wanted Islam to be the new religion amongst everybody. Read that, bro.
According to Alan L. Bertrand, most mass movements pass through 4 stages of
No.
I didn't say it right.
So, you okay? We dealing with Muhammad. Go ahead.
Muhammad spent many days in the hills outside of Mecca. He was immersed deeply in the deplorable conditions of his people, and he wanted to lead them away from moral turpitude.
See, he was immersed in all, he was just really, really kind of disgusted in how his people were serving all these different type of idols. So he went to seek, supposedly, God. Now, this is where the tricky stuff comes in at, where he said how he compiled the Quran. Go ahead.
It seemed to him that the angel Gabriel appeared.
Now, he said it seemed to him that the angel Gabriel. Now, we just read in Psalms, God only deal with who? Israel, his people. Now, you got to make sure you take these books and run them together. But this is the foundation of this this religion. But go ahead.
Commissioning him to calculate a new religion to substitute for the old.
See what he said? He said the angel Gabriel gave him a new religion, which is Islam, to substitute from the old. What old? This book, the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. Go ahead, bro.
Incidentally, Gabriel was the same angel who appeared in a vision to the Hebrew prophet Daniel.
See what he said? Incidentally. See, he read this before and understand who Gabriel is. So in order for his people to receive this, he took that little part out of the book and he added it to the Quran and said, the angel Gabriel came and visited me. But we know that God only deals with who? His people, Israel. Go ahead, bro.
Muhammad gradually came to believe that he was a prophet.
He gradually believed, go ahead, that he was a prophet.
And expounded his religion to members of his family. He went out to the holy temple to preach to the multitude that gathered to worship the idols. With these words, the first phase of the Islamic revolution began.
See, with these words, the first phrase of the Islamic revolution began. He went and told them. He ain't read nothing. He went and told them that the angel Gabriel came to him, and he compiled the Quran, which is the religion of Islam, the book of Islam. So let's go into the Bible and get this right here. Let's go to Deuteronomy Deuteronomy chapter 32, we're going to start at verse 7. So we got to understand that we just can't deal with these brothers and sisters and tell them, no, your religion is false. And you don't know nothing about their religion. You ain't read their books, you haven't read any history, you haven't done nothing. All you did was listen to a man and say, they bad. You can't do that. Deuteronomy 32, and we're going to start with verse 7. Understand this. God said, remember the old days. Remember the old days and how all this stuff got started. If you don't know the origin, how all these different type of people came into play, that's where Islam come from. That's where Mormonism come from. That's where the Seventh-day Adventists come from. That's where the Jehovah's Witnesses come from. Because they are cherry picking the Bible and they coming up with their own Bible.
That's right.
That's what they're doing.
Come on.
But we're going to go from the origin of the book, the Torah, which is the first 5 books and all over the book really, and show you that Israel is the only religion, if you want to call it, the only religion that our people will be saved, and all the other nations. Let's go, Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 7. Read that, bro.
Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee thy elders, and they will tell thee.
We can't ask none of our elders about this. We can't ask none of our fathers about this because they've been taught by the Gentiles.
Come on.
They said, we are a New Testament church. We done threw the Old Testament away. But if you don't know about the old, how you gonna know about the new?
Come on now.
You can't. It's just like reading, it's just like looking at a movie. You come in the movie, in the middle of the movie, and you asking people what's going on, what's going on. No, you should have been in the beginning, you'll know what's going on. So we going back to the beginning and find out what's going on. Then it'll clear our vision up, our minds up.
That's right.
Go ahead, bro.
Verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nation their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bonds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
So you can say he set the bond according to the people, the number of the children of Israel. 12 tribes. That's why we have 12 hours in a day. That's why we have 12 months in a year, because it's set amongst our people, which are the Israelites. But if you don't read this, you say, man, I wonder why we got 12 months. I wonder why we're here from 6 in the morning, 6 in the evening, why it get dark around that time. Because God said He's going to set it amongst our people. The Israelites, 12 tribes. 12 hours, 12 months. This is why we come up with these particular things in the Word. Well, no, 12 disciples. Yeah, you got 12 disciples, got about that. That's why we have 12 disciples. Because of what? The 12 tribes of Israel. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance.
So you have most people need churches read that. Jacob is the lot. What are you talking about?
That's right.
They don't know nothing about Israel and Jacob. They don't know. But we're going to find out today about these particular men in the Bible, these Israelites. Go ahead.
He found him a desert land, and in the waste howling wilderness. He led him about. He instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye.
See, we don't understand where you come from. Our forefather, which is Jacob, you got Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Those are the ones that were the bearer of the covenants.
That's right.
If you don't know who those people are, you don't know who you are. You don't know who you are. So we got to make sure we understand who we are according to the scripture. That's why we have Black history according to the prophets. So we'll know about who Israel is because of the curses. Because of who the prophets are. We learned about this stuff in Black history the last in February.
Right.
So you'll know. That's why we deal with the Bible subject and title, because there's a lot in here. I'm telling y'all, this is a lot. You can't just read from Genesis chapter 32 and 1 all the way down. It can say a lot in one chapter. So listen to what I'm saying. Let's go to Genesis chapter 16. in verse 1. He said, remember the days of old. So we're going back to the days of old. Genesis chapter 16 and verse 1. Now let's go back and see where all this stuff came from. Why do we have Israel religion? Why do we have Islam religion? We need to find out who did these two religions come from? Where did these two religions come from? And you're going to find out it's from Abraham's sons. Abraham's sons. Abraham had two sons, but it was only one that God favored.
That's right.
One. Isaac. So we're going to touch on Ishmael and Isaac. Genesis chapter 16 and verse 1. Go ahead, brother.
Now Sarah, Abraham's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid and an Egyptian whose name was Hagar.
See what it is? Sarah at the time, she couldn't have no children. So she told her handmaid, which is this Egyptian, this African woman, go in and have a baby with my husband, which is Abraham. I don't know why she did that, but it caused a whole lot of confusion.
Yes, it did.
A whole lot of confusion. Go ahead, bro.
And Sarah said unto Abraham, behold now, the Lord has restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah.
Abraham didn't say nothing. Okay, we going in there. He went there. He shot him all the way or nothing. Well, the thing is, it was a big mistake because he said the covenant going to be with Abraham and Sarah. But this where Muhammad's dad came in at. Go ahead. From his mother, his great-great-great-grandmother, Hagar, and we're going to find this out. Go ahead.
And Sarah, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abraham, to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived, and when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes.
See, back then it was a very, very private thing for a woman to have kids. And believe me, if she didn't have no kids, a lot of people looked down on that woman. But the thing was, Hagar was picking at Sarah, and Sarah got mad, and Sarah gonna kick Hagar out. But we just get a little background on it. Jump down to verse 11. Go ahead.
And the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard thy affliction.
See, this is the child between Abraham and Hagar, which is Ishmael. So we don't understand that these are battles between two brothers. Two brothers. Ishmael was Abraham's first son that he had with Hagar, but God didn't honor Ishmael.
That's right.
God knew that this boy right here was going to be a wild man. And you can look at the Arabs today. They are wild people. Anytime you see a man with a rock throwing it at a tank and thinking he's winning, that's a wild man. Anytime you have a man who was strapped with a bomb on his body and go in there and blow people up, that's a wild man. You better don't be messing around with the Arabs now. Go ahead, bro. He's going to tell you about this man.
Verse 12. And he would be a wild man. His hand would be against every man's hands against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren.
You see what happened? His hand's going to be against everybody. All the Ishmael kids' hands going to be against everybody. Look, they're over there in Israel today. They over here in America today. They are doing all this destruction, suicide bombing. I mean, we just talked about it. Throwing rocks. I mean, they're doing all this stuff. They are wild. They're wild. I'm not looking down on them because that's my brother. That's my brother from my father, Abraham. Go jump down to verse 16.
And Abraham was 86 years old when Hagar, bear Ishmael to Abraham.
Abraham was 86 years old when he had Ishmael. But the thing was, Ishmael is not the child of the covenant. He said you're gonna have a baby from Sarah, and that child is gonna establish the covenant. Go to Genesis chapter 17 and 1. We're dealing with two brothers here. Ishmael and Ishmael and Isaac. Go ahead.
And when Abraham was 90